Last week, we secured the Vanarama National League title. Today, preparation for League 2 awaits us. We are now at the end of season number 2 with Wanderers FC. In the bottom right corner, look at this, a new key player, Tammy Ajaria, continuing to develop a lot. One of a number of really good youth players at our team that have developed over the last couple of years. One of a number of players who has a lot of interest in them. I think one of the big issues I'm going to have this summer is keeping hold of the good players. Just as a little reminder, the overall balance of the club is looking really healthy off the back of 2 really good FA Cup runs. Transfer-wise, £121,000. Wage budget-wise, about £18,000 to spend. Yeah, today's going to be fun. Buckle up, get ready. It's a transfer special. Let's run the intro and get into things. But you know what, let's hold our horses a little because the end of the season came about rather abruptly on Friday. Just mashed our way through the end of the year because, to be honest, we've been a step above all the National League teams this year. Of course, we added a lot of quality players over the course this year. Signing of the season has gone to Victor Musa. That feels a little controversial. I feel like Fauna here at defensive midfielder might have something to say about that. This guy, absolutely amazing. One of a few players who I look at their value and think, yeah, if someone bid in the middle range of that, around £1 million, I don't know, I'm going to say no. And of course, Jesse Deborah was another player we picked up during the year who, to be honest, when I look at him, he was a player I signed with League 2 in mind. If you were wondering, we ended up finishing on 111 points. We did fall short of Wrexham's record points total, but we did break the record for most goals in a National League season. And I think it's safe to say a lot of that was due to one man, Andy White, top goal scorer, 26 goals for the 17-year-old. He has been absolutely sensational, developing an absolute ton as well, has signed his first ever senior deal. He signed this over a year ago. He's on £85 a week for 3 more years, plus I've got an optional extension of 3 years. Yeah, something tells me at some point soon he's going to ask for more money. You can see here the seasonal best 11. No real shocks, I don't think, in this team. This was, for the most part, the team we played this year. What I will say is there's already a few of these players I'm looking to move on. Now, I have already blocked out a rough starting 11 and bench. Of course, we're allowed 7 players in League 2 of players who I think are going to be able to do the business next year. There are a few gaps I immediately want to address, including goalkeeper. Rose is not meant to be there. I need a goalkeeper who's not going to get injured. You can see here, we did end the season with 2 wins back-to-back as well as a draw and a defeat. Honestly, probably could have, maybe should have taken these games more seriously, but I decided to give kids chances. Lewis Meek came into the team. His polygon is that of a fish. The 16-year-old, I don't think he's quite ready for the first team. I hate the fact he's super injury prone, but if we just look at his development over the course of the last year, he has been a massive beneficiary of our facilities. I mean, look at that growth. And another man who went on to score his first ever goal at the club, Alex Deering. 1 goal on his debut. 17 years old, bit of potential, good physicals. Definitely not ready for the first team, but one of a number of players who I just stuck in the first team for these last few games to give them some game time. Now, whilst I have been given my transfer budget and we are officially promoted, I am going to get to the start of June. I feel like last year I didn't make the most of signing players in the last months of their contracts from Premier League teams. You can see here, in terms of the team I've got here, there's no players with contracts expiring at the end of the current year. And whilst in the under-21s, Finlay, Thorndike and friends are down here, players who I know I'm not going to keep or I know aren't going to stay at the club. Finlay just wants to leave. So we're going to sell him, or at least let him go for free. There are a few other players going here. I'm sure I'll be back in a moment, in a month, hopefully with some of these guys gone. I have already started a bit of pre-season preparation. If you're playing down in the lower leagues, I highly recommend this kind of filter. Just untick realistic transfers, set a wage limit that's kind of in line with the kind of wages you would be willing to offer a player, then set contract status expiring in 3 months, age at most 21. You can go a couple of years older or younger if you want. And then for Division, Premier League or Championship. I've got a list here of 200 players from academy teams that at the moment, many don't have interest in joining me. As they approach the end of their current contracts and aren't going to get them renewed, I'm hoping maybe 1 or 2 of these we could sign. Jaden Dans, and I made a few Premier League appearances for Liverpool last year, I believe, in real life. I'll be honest, in this save game, he's crap. He's not the kind of player I want. Habib here is probably a better kind of player, although I'm not necessarily looking for a right wing back. But yeah, there's loads of these players I'm scouting. There's loads of these players I haven't yet scouted. Yeah, I'm keeping my staff busy. Anyway, we're going to get to June. I'm going to go looking for some free transfers. I'll join you in a moment, hopefully with a few players sold, maybe a bit more money to play with. Okay, folks, 1st of June in game. Look at the balance. Look at the transfer budget. we've sold some players. Now, one man I actually sold a while ago, and I forgot to mention it, was Sellers. Yeah, I stuck him in the under-21s, you might remember, at the start of the year. We sold him around January time. He's already transfer listed by Forest Green now. In terms of current transfers, 5 players sold, over £300,000 made. The first, not the most sexy, Arlo Doherty, Newcastle United, £12,000. He's our third choice goalkeeper. I'm looking to maybe bring in a new first choice goalkeeper, so getting rid of the third choice felt like logical sense. Was a little surprised Newcastle made a bid. There is a percentage of sell on should he move on for some more money than that we've sold him for. This one might come as a little bit of a shock, but Spencer Addons I've decided to sell. He is heading to Burton for £175,000. Shocked, to be honest, that a League One team is picking him up. A good centre-back, but a bit of a one-dimensional centre-back. And with the emergence of players like Jack Kingdon into the team, Deborah into the team, and Louis Jackson into the team, Spencer Addons just isn't good enough. Ultimately selling our fourth choice centre-back for almost £200,000. It's a hard deal to say no to. This one might surprise people a little. It's another sale to Burton. Jared Harlock, a player who showed a load of promise and potential, but I just feel like we've outgrown him. £30,000 for him. A player with some potential, not really convinced he's going to fulfill it. And a couple more players whose potential I just don't see being fulfilled include Jack Morehouse, who of course we signed at the start of the year on a free transfer. We've sold him for £25,000 to Portsmouth. Again, another big percentage of profit sell on should he move on for some more money. And Joe Barres has also left the club. He's joining TNS for £95,000 again. There's a sell-on involved. Another player we brought in to be a depth option this year, like Morehouse, and to be honest, just didn't really do the business in the National League. Don't see a world where he's going to do it in League Two. Right now, Finlay Thorndike hasn't found a new club. Of course, his contract's up at the end of the month, so we might get some offers coming in for him now. And a couple more players that I am potentially looking to sell on this year. Joe McGlynn, I just don't think he's good enough. There's some interest in him, and his valuation seems reasonable. I feel like anything over £100,000, and I just have to snap it up. And in fact, there's a couple of players in the senior team that I've not demoted down to the under-21s that I'm kind of exploring options with. George Dowling is one of them. I just feel like his ability isn't quite good enough for the team anymore. If I could get some money for him, it'd be nice. And another man who I think is on the chopping block is Ben Hockenhull. No interest in him yet. If I can't sell him, not the end of the world. Would maybe keep him around his depth, but I think we can do better than him. Now, with those latter two players still in the first team, we have a first team squad of 18 players. Ordinarily, I like to aim for around 25 players. That means I am looking for some signings this summer. Last year, with us not getting promotion and having some good youth players going through the ranks, there was kind of this temptation not to overhaul things too much. I am looking to do that a little more this year. 2 positions I've identified immediately. New centre attacking mid. I need to get someone in who's going to fulfil the role that Finlay Thorndike did this year. Hopefully to a slightly higher level because he wasn't at his best. And in goal, I've had enough of Joe Rose getting injured during matches. The 24-year-old, a good goalkeeper. I would like to get a semi-longer term option in. You'll notice as well, I have blocked out here kind of a 7-man bench. There's a couple of players in the first team who I don't feel like I have to replace, but if the right player's there, I might move in for them. Overton being one such example. This guy's been a good striker for the year just gone. A little bit worried about his injury proneness. He did sign a new deal in January. One of the main reasons for doing that was I didn't want to lose him on a free transfer this year. And now we have the opportunity to maybe sell him on for some money. I want to say I want to sell him while he's hot. But as you can see here, his form to end the year was really poor. So yeah, there's definitely a world where maybe he drops down to the bench and then where Victor Musa is here, he would become a reserve player. Maybe we look for another striker. Of the rest of the team, I really like our back three. I would like to get in, I think, a couple new depth options there. Of course, Spencer Addons left the club. Needs one to come in to replace him. It might be that we go and sign a new starting centre-back. And of our centre-backs currently, Louis Jackson probably would be the first one just to drop down to the bench. But to be fair, I look at White, Allen, Ajaria, Forner, players I don't really feel are touchable. One player it might shock you to hear me say I'm open to maybe exploring options with is Callum Hume. I don't feel like I have to sell him because he can play a load of different positions, including right wing back, which would actually be kind of useful for depth. And whilst he is an absolutely amazing regista, if there was to be a top quality centre mid option out there become available, I don't think I'd hesitate to go in for them. Anyway, that's kind of the lie of the land at the moment. I feel like now I'm ready to sign some players. So I have had that player search filter active and set a load of players to be scouted. In fact, if I just show you my scouts, they're still busy looking at a fair few of these players. That's probably an understatement. There's lots of players here. Now, the best of these players are players like James Nolan. Looks great, sadly not interested in joining me right now. I need to keep my fingers and toes crossed that players like James here don't find clubs over the next month. Maybe as they approach the end of their contracts, they'll get more desperate to find a new team. and want to join me. Sean Mavididi here would be another really good option if we could pick him up. I love his physicals, some really nice flair. Mental's lacking a little bit. As a depth striking option, he'd be a great signing. Just not interested in joining us yet. And sadly, if I do just tick the realistic transfer and put it to doubtful, of the players interested, there's players like Max McFadden here. Not a bad player. Not the level we're looking for. In an ideal world, I would like to get in a few more scouts. I could get in a director of football, I suppose. Can I maybe ask the board for more scouts? Couldn't ask for that earlier. I'll ask for it now. Of players we've got scouted, Ryan Wintle is the best. He's also on £9,000 a week. There's no way I can sign him. I think our big priority this year has to be the goalkeeping position. I don't feel like the jump from the National League to League 2 is that big. Of course, there's 3 automatic promotion spots and a playoff spot. Knowing that, I want to be targeting the playoffs at the very least next year. I feel like this is the league that's perhaps easiest to get back-to-back promotions out of. I'm going to set up this recruitment focus. I am going to need to cancel some of our other ones, but that's fine. For some reason, my scouts have a recruitment focus that I didn't set up, looking for players aged 15 to 17. Apparently, Philip Schmitz would be good. For reasons that I'm not entirely sure why. You might be able to figure it out. Don't think he's a realistic transfer. I mean, these lads that I've identified are good, but they're never going to join me. Not even on loan. The other recruitment focus I'm going to set up is going to be for a new centre attacking mid. I'm looking for an exciting player who's going to be a big upgrade there. Finlay Thorndike didn't cut the mustard this year. Looking at goalkeepers I've got scouted, Sharman Lowe I was looking at last year, and he's just not found a club. He's a good goalkeeper. The fact he's not found a club, I feel like, is a little bit of a red flag. On top of that, he doesn't like important matches, which I actually feel like is rather important for a goalkeeper. The only other option would be Jordan Eastham, who... no. If I look at players with contracts expiring in 1 month, is there some more interesting options here? Not really. What about if I untick realistic transfer, then set a wage limit of 2,500? Is there now more good players that might join me? Hubert here is a good goalkeeper. He wants me to get promoted from League 2. Not going to be able to do that for a year, mate. Zach Hemming, I feel like at one point in Football Manager was like an absolute demon. In this universe, not so good. Having looked through these goalkeeping options, my optimism of finding a goalkeeper who's going to solve all my problems dwindling slightly. I'm going to be honest, Sharman Lowe might be the best option out there. I mean, I could just sign him as a free agent potentially, and if his wage demands are low, snap him up with a view to maybe flip him on for some money. He wants £1,700 a week. He's attracting interest from Chesterfield, who think he'd be a starting goalkeeper for them, and Barnet in the National League, who can't afford him. Chesterfield last year finished 21st, so they're a low-end League 2 team who think he'd be an upgrade. I mean, to be honest, I have to look at it and view him as a potential upgrade on Joe Rose. A year younger, definitely better overall ability. I just am a little fearful of his inability in important matches, but... I mean, if I snap him up, there's no reason why I couldn't then move on Rose or maybe Miles Roberts, one of our other goalkeeping options. Both of them actually have some decent transfer value. I'm going to try and get rid of the minimum release clause stuff. We can keep the relegation release clause in. That's less of a concern for me. Will he do £1,500 a week? I'll put in a contract extension after promotion. A lot of our current first team players actually have that clause. It's not yet kicked in. So some way through this summer... loads of players' contracts are going to get extended, which I'm looking forward to. Teddy here is not being cuddly. He wants £2,000. I'll give him the £1,700 he was originally asking for. We did manage to remove the release clause. I don't mind him as a goalkeeper. Do need to get an updated scout report. I feel like loads of people know this, but in case you don't, under recruitment focus, you can go to scout priorities. And if you've got a load of players whose scouting you've got queued up, you can select a player, then in the bottom right, prioritize that assignment. So in this case, Teddy, prioritize that assignment. I need that in the next week. I think no matter what, I don't want Joe Rose to be my starting goalkeeper this year. So with that in mind, I'm just going to offer him out just to see if there's any nibbles. Apparently, Finlay Thorndike no longer wants to leave the club. Does he want to negotiate a new contract? Potentially. Do I want to give him a new contract? I'll be honest, not really. He's currently on £1,400 a week. If he was to ask for a similar total to that, I could maybe give it a little bit of oxygen, a little bit of food for thought. I feel like he's going to want significantly more than that, and I don't really want to give him it. I don't think I'd go above £2,000. He wants £4,000. You know what, Finlay? You can leave at the end of the year, son. You might have spotted there, by the way, that Finley was asking for us to finish in the top half as a promise. In terms of the board expectations for the coming year, you can see here, they want a mid-table finish in League 2. Mentioned it earlier. I feel like playoffs should be the aim. I feel like top 7 in this division is doable. Last year, you might remember York were promoted ahead of us. They finished 7th. They got in the playoffs. Sadly, bottled it. Back-to-back promotions is definitely possible from the National League, from League 2 into League 1. I'm now looking at players with contracts expiring that play centre, attacking mid. Alex Patterson here actually isn't an awful option, but I don't like the injury proneness. Harvey Nibbs, 27 years old, pacey player, naturally a centre attacking mid, which surprises me a little bit. Of course, we don't play with an advanced playmaker. It is an attacking midfielder. I feel like ordinarily with this kind of position, you're looking for vision to be half decent. Of course, vision here is a combination of passing, vision, and flair. Being real for a moment, only really passing matters for us. I feel like vision isn't the be-all or end-all with how we play. I was looking at centre attacking mid, contract status expired. Joe Aribo is here, 29 years old. He's really good. He moved from Rangers to Southampton in real life. In Football Manager, he used to be an absolute demon. He's been a free agent for a whole year. I really got my hopes up and now he's telling me that I can't financially afford him. He'd be the dream centre attacking mid. I'm going to give him a trial. In terms of the other centre attacking mid options that have good reputation, that are maybe interested in joining me. I mean, Sully Kaikai here is not bad, but none of them are on the level of Aribo, are they? Quiterna here is not a bad little option. Bissau Guinean international, good player. I might have to keep an eye on him. I kind of like him a lot, although what I will say is he's not really shone in League 2 for them. Was the year before, though, playing in League 1 regularly. Ronan Darcy's another Crawley player. Apparently Crawley are getting rid of a load of players at the moment. They finished 13th in League 2. The year before that, they'd been relegated. Someone explain to me how this guy has 3-star current ability, because I don't understand what my scouts are smoking. Well, good news, I'm allowed another scout, so we're going to hire one of those up. Being real, though, for a moment, based on my initial searches at least, I think I'm going to have to wait for the season tick-over date in mid-June, where hopefully we get a reputation boost to maybe be able to sign some players at the level I'm hoping to find. Julian Ward here is head and shoulders above all the other scouts I can apparently sign. This man has been director of football and technical director at Liverpool, and he's not found a club. Welcome to us. Come sign for me, mate. He doesn't even want money either. I mean, to be clear, he does want some money, but it's like a reasonable amount of money that he wants. Contract offered £800 a week, not cheap, but he's actually very, very good for our team. We're just having a little look at players with contracts expiring at the end of the year that we've got scouted in all positions. I mentioned the need to maybe add a bit more depth at centre-back. Buller here looks really, really good from Gillingham. I mentioned the idea of getting in a bit more depth at defensive midfielder, and if I was going to sign a player, it might then knock other players down the pecking order. I mean, Bowler can play left back, left wing back, and centre back. He's basically a straight upgrade on Noah Watson. I mean, it would be a little bit of a gamble of a transfer. He wants to be a star player. I'm going to offer him important player. He wants to be the star of the show. I'm terrified how much he's about to ask for. He's currently on £1,400 a week. I have a couple of players on around £2,000. We'll use that as the starting point. I think we should wait till mid-June to look for players. Grimsby and Northampton have offered me job interviews. Flattered, lads. No, thank you. Julian Ward is joining us as a scout. This guy, far too good to be joining us, but I'm all for it. Teddy Sharman Lowe, I now have the option to sign. I'm going to delay it for a week. I'm still waiting on the updated scout report. I do feel like he's probably just a player I should bring in, even if I don't know for certain he's going to be our starting goalkeeper. I mean, we were eyeing him up last year. My scouts have now looked at him, say he has leading League 1 potential and he'd be a good League 2 goalkeeper. I mean, it's a free transfer. It's a pretty smart deal. It is, by the way, now the 10th of June in game. The transfer window has opened up. You can see here various deals going on. Harlock and Spencer Addams going with one another to Burton. Morehouse has left the club as well. Fans don't seem that happy by these dealings, but to be honest, to get money for them, I'm all for. We've had an offer for Ajaria, probably the first of many we're going to receive over the summer. Swansea have offered £65,000. They can do one. Ajaria currently has a 2-year deal, but it's an optional contract extension of 3 years on it. That will be triggered as soon as I'm allowed to. Right now, I can't do it. And while that's all going on, scout reports continue to come in for some of these players that I might be interested in signing. I'll be honest, looking at the star ratings, none of them look crazy. Another day, another offer for Ajaria at Southampton. No thank you. Ajaria is frustrated about not being able to pursue the move. I don't want to sell this guy. I almost don't care if he gets unhappy here, the right back, because I know I've got an option on his contract to extend it for 3 more years. So worst case, I keep him for 3 years. When he's 20, we try and sell him on then with 2 years left on his deal. I have to assume he's going to continue to improve, and at that point, he's probably going to be worth more money than he is now. I'd appreciate being allowed to talk to Southampton. No. Concentrate on your football. I'm being unfair here. Money talks. Do you want to stay with more money? Do you like money, Ajaria? He doesn't like money. For some reason, I feel like that money talks option is like the least bad option of the usable options. I feel like as soon as you promise you'll sell them for a certain price, they propose an offer that's just kind of really, really low and it's just annoying. I'd rather not promise I'd sell a player at a price. I'd rather just say, I've tried to give you money and you've said no to it. How many players am I scouting, by the way? The answer apparently is yes. To how many? Lots. I don't like to click the reject all option here because occasionally you get an offer that you do actually want to entertain. But at the moment, I'm very close to doing it. Swansea and Southampton are taking the piss. More offers. Premier League offers. Is Ajaria that good? I mean, to be fair, he was at one point listed as our key player. In fact, he's still listed as our key player. I don't want to lose him. How long is it going to be before he comes really crying to me? I feel like it's a matter of time. Sharman Lowe here, I have the option to sign. I've already delayed it once. It's a free transfer. I'm going to bring him in. I'm a little bit nervous about the important matches, but everything else about him, I really, really like. Joe Rose has had a lot of issues with injuries this year. Sharman Lowe, I think, it goes without saying, is just a straight upgrade, I think, for the most part. I think this is a sensible bit of business. Southampton have made a new offer for Ajaria. I'm just going to have to reject all offers here, aren't I? We'll see how much they go up to. I just feel like it's not really a reason I need to sell him now. Middlesbrough made an offer. It's been rejected. 68,000. They're taking the Michael. New League 2 season draws near. Oh, I'm getting excited. We're getting close to that season tick-over day. I'm interested to see what our initial media prediction's going to be for the year. Also, how many players did I scout here? There's just scout reports still constantly coming in for players. Egan Riley here actually looks really good. Super consistent player. He's actually signed a contract extension with Tottenham. Would he be interested in joining us? No. Tottenham, 26,000 to 275,000. I mean, he's good. He's not that good, is he? Can people please stop bidding on Ajaria? It's not funny anymore. Okay, we get to set an updated code of conduct. I'm still getting offers. They're all being rejected. It's fine. I don't need the staff meeting summary. Are any of these offers particularly massive? We've not had any yet that are more than £100,000 up front, and personally, I think that's somewhat insulting. Our stature has increased this year. Woo! Did it improve by much? Rankings, oh god, where are we here? I mean, our rep is still below that of Forest Green and Oldham, and we are now just ahead of Bromley. It's now 2 stars. We're moving up in the world. Look at the number of offers that have now been rejected for Ajaria. This is silly. Also, Plymouth have made an offer for Tyrese Forner. I signed Tyrese Forner on a free transfer. He's played for me for half a year. I do feel like he's a really good top quality centre mid. They're offering silly money here though. He wants to go to Plymouth. They've offered 675,000. I feel like I want more than that. Plymouth have just won the League One playoff, so they're going up into the Championship. I feel like they should have some money to spend here. I want £1 million all up front. They're definitely going to say no to this. Okay. They can have him for £1 million. Do not get me wrong, he is one of my best centre mids. But at 26 years old, he's only been here 6 months. I don't have any attachment to him. £1 million? Yeah, go on then. I mean, that probably does mean we need a new defensive mid. Of course, at the start of last year, we brought in Callum Jones to play that role. Could he do it in League 2? Maybe. I just can't say no to £1 million, can I? That is a ridiculous offer. I wish I'd asked for more now. We should have asked for more, shouldn't I, really? You can see here, by the way, the National League season review. Aaron Allen, most assists. Get in there, son. And I believe now, because I've just had the leaderboard pop up, we are now officially into the new season. A mid-table finish in League 2 is the aim. And our early media prediction, 11th. That is before we get any new transfers in. So yeah, we are being tipped. I was going to say for greatness. We'll use that term loosely, but Compared to the other teams at this level, I think the playoffs is definitely possible. Another day, another offer for Ajaria. Stoke, go away. I'll tell you what, now that we've been promoted, there's new players showing up like Dele Alli. Dele Alli at centre attacking mid? I'm really trying to talk myself into this one. I actually feel like he'd be okay. Suppose the only issue is his valuation is 3.9 to £5 million allegedly. I assume his reputation is still ridiculously high, which is inflating his value. So I was looking at players with contracts expiring in the next month. Callum Connolly, I actually really like the look of. He can play defensive mid and centre-back. He's currently captain of Stockport in League 2. His agent reckons he's going to want between £3,200 and £4,200 a week. I'm going to say the demands are a bit unreasonable and try and get him cheaper. Currently, our highest earner is on £2,400 a week in the form of Overton. I feel like this summer, I've kind of got a soft limit of £3,000 in mind. Right, Callum, can we do £3,000? Actually, we agreed £2,800 before. He wants a match highest earner clause. That ain't going to work. He wants a promotional wage rise. He's turned around and asked for £4,500. You're not making this easy, Callum. I said 2 minutes ago that my limit was 3,000. I'm doing 3,500 here. I will not go above that or under it. And well, he's turned it down anyway. I suppose really I should have been looking at some of these other players in the list. Ben Stevenson here, centre defensive mid option at Portsmouth. Injury prone and hates important matches. I don't love that. I think with Callum here, he's already on the shortlist, but I kind of want to keep an eye on him. Maybe he becomes a free agent in a week and then he asks for less money. I still like Bowler, who we looked at earlier. Has he got any new interest in joining me? Look, we're a League 2 team now. He wants 6,000. Do one. Actually, just do one. You know what? I'm just going to get to the 1st of July and hope that players with contracts expired have more reasonable wage demands. Because currently everyone's just messing me around. Okay, it's official. Tyrese Forner is going to become a record sale for us. £1 million for him. I don't think I can replace him with a like-for-like player. I don't think there's a player of his quality available. But for a team at our level, I can't turn down the opportunity to double our overall balance. £1 million is just too much to turn down. I mean, look at the transfer budget now. I didn't even really think about that. I could even put some of it into the wage budget. Oh, we could have some fun here. Carabao first round. Who are we playing? Wickham. It's just not a sexy game, is it? Apparently, Callum Connolly would be a terrific signing. Yeah, I agree with that. He would be. I'm getting a bit annoyed about all the offers every day for Ajaria, but you know what? I'm going to look at the positives. At least they're not looking at Andy White. Finlay Thorndike has officially left the club. A couple of players didn't get the memo. I'm going to release them. There's a fair few players with contracts expiring in the next year, similar with staff as well. You have to sort that out eventually. But it is now officially the 1st of July, and the final of the transfers we had pre-arranged sale-wise has gone through. Joe Barres, just shy of £100,000 received for him, for a player who we signed on a free, played 4 games, and then sold. I feel like it's just quite good money. And you know what? Most importantly now, Callum Connolly is a free agent. Is he now going to have reasonable wage demands? He doesn't want to talk to me. Can I give him a trial? No, I can't. I mean, now given it's the 1st of July, I feel like free agents have to be the order of the day. I feel like sorting by world reputation is often just a good way to look at just maybe any shock superstars that might be interested in joining you. I'm not going to say that Ikpeazu here is one such player who's a shock star who would be a surprise signing, but I quite like the look of him. He reminds me of Pharrell Williams who we had in Park to Prem past, where he has no technicals whatsoever, but his mentals and physicals are actually really good. I mean, look, he's got proven pedigree in League 2 with 13 goals. He wants to be a star player. I've still got that £3,000 number in my head as the limit. This is just not going to end well, is it? It's just 10,000. You know what? Funnily enough, I'm not going to spend a sixth of my wage budget on a 31-year-old striker. I mean, of the players scouted here, there's some pretty good players here. Gyabi looks really good, actually. 22 years old, was playing for Leeds. Who's interested in him? Rotherham. He's got 1 leadership, so as long as I don't make him captain, it should be fine. Had a loan at Plymouth, didn't play much. Played 4 games last year in the Premier League. He's now a free agent. I mean, if his wage demands are reasonable, I feel like he could be a really good signing, to the point where I'm almost more willing to give him more money in the hope he'll sign for me here. 22 years old. He wants £2,500 a week. More players like this man, please, Football Manager. I'm making him a very reasonable offer here. I probably shouldn't have included the sell-on percentage. Can I get rid of that and give him more? You know what? I'll give him the 3,000. Surely that's fine. I really like the look of this guy. I think this is going to be the mould of player we're looking for the next few years. English players who have just slipped through the cracks at academies and haven't been able to really have a good chance to play first-team football to develop. Try and bring them to us. See if we can make them into late bloomers. Josh Martin here is another really interesting option. Was at Notts County. He could play centre attacking mid. He's quite good. Compared to Finlay Thorndike, not as well-rounded, but quicker, better vision, more technicals. Definitely a more attacking mould of player. Wants to treat the club as a stepping stone. Wants promotion in a couple of years' time. You know what? I feel like that is reasonable. And this is even more. I like this man. I'm going to up the wages, remove the yearly promotional wage rises. I don't want them in any contract. I'll give him a contract extension after promotion. How does that sound, Josh? Bloody hell. I'll tell you what, we might have found two absolute ballers there. Of these players, right, a lot of them are on the older side. I kind of want to set an age limit of kind of mid-20s. Luke Robinson here could be a really good depth left-back option if I maybe wanted to move on Connor Pye. But do I want to sell Connor Pye? He's just signed a new deal fairly recently as a squad player. There was interest in Pye, but it's kind of gone quiet. I mean, Robinson is an upgrade. I just don't think it's a position to prioritise. Max Voltman, I really like in Football Manager. 22 years old, Liverpool youngster in real life. He is actually really well-rounded. As a pressing forward, he ticks a lot of boxes. He's a bit like McGlynn, but better. That's basically the best way to describe him. And he can play a load of positions. Not sure he'd be the perfect fit here, but, you know, he could definitely slot in at centre attacking mid. Wants to be a squad player as well. I'll tell you what, Max, you are making me very, very interested in you. How much do you want? It's a reasonable amount. Of course, my concern with all these players that I'm now looking to snap up is we're going to get some other teams further up the footballing pyramid, spot them and want to sign them and just steal them away from me. Alfie Gilchrist here looks absolutely immense. I feel like we've hit a gold mine here. Contract status expired, age at most 26. I was looking through world reputation players here. We'll get the scout report on him, of course. His physicals aren't the craziest, but his mentals are absolutely insane. I do wish he had slightly better jumping reach. The fact he wants to be a star player immediately is a red flag. I'll tell you what, we were on a roll of players. Alfie's ruined it. Malagizzi here is not a bad option. Versatile centre mid player. I'll get a scout report on him. I kind of want to offer him a trial. And Dexter Limbikisa here, he's good too. He's actually really good. Can play left back, can play right back. Could he play defensive mid? Could that be a position for him? Feels like a bit of a waste of his physicals. At 22 years old, though, he looks good. He was playing for Wolves. Last year, he was on loan playing in the top division of Portugal, although he didn't play a great deal. As a depth right-back option who can play left-back, he could be great. Doesn't want to join me. Never mind. Fagan Walcott looks absolutely banana. The more I look at these players, the better they look. Fagan Walcott is great, isn't he? Look at those physicals. Acceleration, jumping reach, pace. Where was he playing last year? A couple of years ago, he was playing in the National League. Got promoted with York. Didn't get any first-team opportunities. Wants to be a star player. Wants a lot of stuff that I think makes me scared of his wage demands. How much does he want? It's going to be too much. It's going to be... You know what? We'll put him on the watch list. Zach Orr here. He looks good as well. There's too many good players here. This guy would be a dreamy centre-back option for me. Wants to be an important player. Will he do regular starter? He will. Wage demands, they're going to be too high. There's so many players here that I'm like, I'll come back to you in a few weeks. Please be cheaper then. Francis Okonkwo, another quality player. He's great. He's actually really good. Mentioned maybe looking to get someone in who was kind of an upgrade on Overton at striker. This guy does what Overton and then a little bit more. He's already had an offer from Fylde for him. That makes me think his wage demands might be not that unreasonable if Fylde can afford him. How much is he going to want? I'll go in at £2,000 with a contract extension after promotion. I do feel pretty confident we're going to stay up this year. I don't like to cheese kind of release clauses by having them set to 0, but I'll offer him the option of a relegation release clause at 100,000. I think there's a deal to be had here. Okay, £2,000 for Francis looks like it could be a great deal. I'm going to get a scout report on him and make sure it's prioritised. Knowing my luck, he'll now go to Filed anyway, but we can hope. I feel like for all these players on this list here, I should just offer them all trials. Just see if any of them want to join me. There's a lot of players joining me on trial here, let me tell you. I guess the question is, now they're here, are any of them good? I'll tell you what, there could be some good ones here. And a few of them actually are goalkeepers. Now, Hubert's the goalkeeper we looked at previously. He was playing at Manchester United. He actually looks quite good. Of course, since we looked at him, we have signed Sharman Lowe. But Hubert would be a bit of an upgrade. Wants to be a star player. The fact he's injury prone terrifies me. He wants £6,000, Hubert. Get with the real world, Hubert. What are you doing? Will Swan here is an outfield option. He's a good striker. He's not an exciting player, though. I feel like the star rating's overblown there. And TJ Ayoma is an option too. He was playing previously at Peterborough in League One, actually putting some decent performances there as well. He's not a bad little centre-back with some really good physicals. Wants to be a star player. That fills me with dread. Wage demands. More reasonable than I was expecting. The question with any centre-back I look at as a starter is, are they better than Louis Jackson? And we have to ask that question about TJ. And the answer's a resounding yes, isn't it? The other nice thing about TJ, actually, is the fact he can play right back too, which I think could be rather useful. I'll offer him the contract extension after promotion. Going to start with the wages low. I'm expecting him to ask for more, but I feel like there's a deal to be had. And indeed there is. £2,400 for him. I feel like that could be a great signing. I feel like today's episode was slow to get going with transfers. The 1st of July's arrived and I've gone mental. Derby County and Peterborough have made offers to Josh Martin. Can I give him more? Josh, I'll give you £3,000. I really like this guy. I mean, I've got so much money in transfer budget. I feel like I should just offer him £100,000. I feel like he's that good. I hope he comes to us. I'll play you first team football. The others won't. I'm not sure the Callum Connolly deal's happening. Teams are making offers for him. He still doesn't want to talk to me. Tranmere have now made an offer for Francis. And look at the list of teams interested here. There's League One and League Two teams wanting Francis. You know what? I'm doing it again. I'm going to give Francis a lot of money here. I feel like he's that good. £2,800. Like, if he turns down that, at least I know I gave him as much money as I felt comfortable giving him. You know where a minute ago I said, I'm really happy with how things are going. We've got loads of deals going. I feel like none of them are going to come through now. Dundee of the Cinch Premiership have made an offer for TJ. And whilst I'm upset that I'm not going to get to sign him, what I'm more upset about is the fact I can't now drop random recess, you know, the TV show references in with regards to a player called TJ. That's just sad. Walsall have made an offer for Gabby. You've seen this movie before. I need to offer more money. I need these players. Wigan have made an offer for Voltman. Am I about to just go through heartbreak here? The answer is yes. Francis has accepted the offer from Tranmere. Balls. If I don't get any of these players that I've just found and got excited about in the last 20 minutes, I might actually cry. Oh, and if you're wondering, the league season starts in 4 weeks. 4 weeks. I was really hoping to have a few more signings done by now. TJ's turned me down to go to Dundee. Just as a recap, here's all the players that have turned me down or rejected contracts. If I hide the inactive ones, these are the 3 players we might be able to sign. Maybe. On the one hand, the fact that new players have appeared seemingly from out of nowhere because they've lowered their expectations and are willing to join me, I feel like that's a positive that that's happened. The negative is that other teams are obviously still in the market for these players, so I can't sign them. Well, I can try and sign them, they just don't sign for me. Had an offer from Huddersfield here for Kingdon. Kingdon improved so much last year. This guy at centre-back, absolutely top draw. Don't really have any interest in selling him, especially with the level of development he's shown. He's still only 20 years old, broke into the Scottish national under-21 setup. This offer here feels almost insulting. Have just spent some time looking through some of these other players that we got in on trial. I mean, Charlie McNeil here is not bad. He's not what I'm looking for. Ben Jackson's an okay centre-back option. If his wage demands are cheap, he is definitely like a depth centre-back kind of player. Maybe we found someone. He wants a non-promotion release clause. I mean, to be honest, he's coming in to be a backup centre-back. I can kind of live with that. Of course, we've just sold Bailey Spencer-Adams for £170,000. I feel like when you compare Ben with him, not as good in the air, but definitely kind of that similar mould of centre-back. A limited player, but a player we bring on should be able to do some defending. Zach Medley here is another decent option I've got in on trial. He's got 17 jumping reach and he's 195 centimetres tall. Doesn't like important matches. How does he compare with Jackson? Not as good defensively, not as good mentally, but comes with that big bonus of the fact he's left-footed. Last year, I didn't have a left-footed centre-back on the left side. Zach could solve that problem if, and it might be a big if based on the fact he's asking to be a star player, he has reasonable wage demands. Never mind. I just want to make one signing. I just want one of these players we've been looking at to sign. I've got one of them. I've got Voltman. Of the three, he's the least exciting. But you know what? Versatile attacking option, jack of all trades, master of some. I think he can be okay for us. Josh Martin's agreed to go to Derby. That's bad. Good news, Darko Gyabi's decided to join us, probably because I'm offering him £3,500 a week. I felt like I had to get in that defensive midfielder option I've been looking for. I feel like this man ticks that box. Compared to Jones, not as good defensively, but a more complete player. And within our system, because of the three centre-backs, I feel like the defence midfielder doesn't need to be the best player at the back. We sold Forner for £1 million. We've signed a replacement in Gyabi on a free deal. And I'm not going to claim that he's as good right now, but I feel like the potential is there longer term. I'll tell you what, Voltman compared to Charlie Whittaker, because they are very similar players. Voltman is actually a massive upgrade. I feel like if I can't find a newer centre attacking mid, Voltman could be the man who starts there to kick off the year. I've blocked out a starting 11 and a bench here. The season starts in 3.5 weeks. Little bit concerned that players that I want to sign are turning us down to go to other teams. I've got to remain persistent. I've got to hope that we can find a few more players like Gyabi and Voltman. In the case of Darko here, I've definitely overpaid, but I feel like that was almost out of necessity. Felt like there was pressure to get in a good defensive mid option. I feel like he ticks that box pretty highly. As for Voltman, obviously we're looking for that Finley Thorndike replacement. I've not found it yet. I do wonder with Voltman, maybe I could play him at Shadow Striker. I feel like that might make better use of his skill set if he ends up being the starting player there. Speaking of which, probably should train him to play centre attacking mid. I'll be honest, I was hoping to get a few more transfers done today, but I do feel like we've done a pretty good job of getting rid of the dead wood around the team that I wasn't really interested in keeping around. Our current first team squad sits at 20 players. Saying all of that, there's some decent talent in the youth team that I could look to promote. Maybe for players like Lewis Meek, it would be a bit of a rushing into the first team. But if there's not options out there at centre attacking mid, I could see a world where he does a job. John Murray, maybe as a depth centre-back. That one probably is pushing it a little bit. But yeah, there is options if I can't find anyone. I'd really like to find players next time. If you were wondering, by the way, to kick off the season, we have home games against Stockport and Wickham. Stockport, if we just look at things, last year were relegated from League One. As for Wickham, they are playing in League One themselves. So going to be two pretty challenging games to start the year. Of course, this game is in the EFL Cup. Let me know what you think of the transfer business so far. Have I overpaid for Darko? Almost certainly. Is Voltman the solution at centre attacking mid? I'm not convinced. What I will say is, though, if we went into the season like this, I feel like we do okay. And I suppose that's reflected in the fact that the updated season preview of all the latest transfers now has us up in third. That makes me feel good. Oh, and I forgot to mention it, of course, we've got the Shaman in goal. There's definitely going to be some great puns we can do with the last name of Shaman, isn't there? You just have to ignore the fact there's an R in his name. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed the transfer special today. We are now in the 9th of June. We played through 2 months there. I feel like we've got a lot of the sales done. I've just remembered Joe McGlynn's in the youth team. Going to still try and sell him next time. Like I said, thoughts on the transfer business, player signing so far, rate it out of 10. Back tomorrow to hopefully take that grade up a little bit. I'm not happy with what we've done so far.